Hello everyone, I'm here with Austin Bursavich. For people who don't know, he's a member of Rivals League. He also won the grand finals kind of recently. And I don't know, I think it's going to be interesting to talk to you today because you kind of burst onto the scene kind of recently during like the arena age. I know you like did well even before that a little bit, but you know, you're kind of a new pro, let's say. How it's going, man?
Yeah, it's going well. How about you?
I'm not doing too bad, I guess. I mean, I cannot really go anywhere because of COVID. Like, it's really, really bad in Czech. I think it's the worst in Europe. But besides that, I'm doing alright.
Oh wow. Yeah, we're similar. I mean, I'm in the U.S. and not going places often, but yeah, it's been fine. I try to get out the house, walk, go to the park and stuff at least.
Mm-hmm. So what I started doing recently is that, you know, when I start talking to someone, I don't go immediately to Magic, but at first I'm gonna try out, find out a little bit more about you, you know, in other things like work and stuff like that. When I asked you, you said you're like a project manager for work, but you're also married and you have 3 kids. I don't know if you have like any hobbies besides that. It seems really hard to be a pro Magic player, have a full-time job and have 3 kids, but maybe you do. If you can just tell us something about yourself, what you're doing outside of Magic, you know, that would be great.
Yeah, these days it really isn't a lot. I'm working from home, so I work Monday through Friday, and yeah, I try to play as much Magic as I can, but I really don't even get to play much Magic except when I'm preparing for a tournament. And my girls are still young. My oldest is 7, and the 2 little ones are 3 and 2, so they're not in school yet. And my wife is around and watches them, but we're always busy with something, going to the park, have stuff going on. So yeah, these days not much. When I was younger, I played sports and played a lot of poker and Magic in high school and college and stuff. But at this point, yeah, just hanging out, watching TV and movies and sports, and play Magic when I can. That's really it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, during the COVID age, it's kind of the same for everyone. No one is really going anywhere, so it makes sense. You mentioned poker. Maybe you're not playing as much, you know, anymore. But you know, when I asked you on Twitter what do you like used to do and stuff, you mentioned poker, and maybe that was also the reason why you weren't playing as much Magic. Can you maybe talk about the beginnings? Because you said that you started with Kamigawa when I asked you. That's even before me, and I think that's like maybe like 17 years back. But you're kind of like on the pro scene for like the last, you're kind of on the pro scene for like the last 2 years or something. So if you can maybe talk about the beginnings, why you maybe weren't playing so much in poker and stuff like that, just go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess when I was like 9 or 10, maybe I was playing like Yu-Gi-Oh with my older brother at like the local card store. I guess we collected Pokemon cards when I was even younger, but never actually played the game. But then, we started playing Yu-Gi-Oh for like maybe a year or 2. And
I'm gonna stop you right there because maybe we get out of that. Not that many people I talk to mention Yu-Gi-Oh, so if you can maybe just tell us at least a little bit, like, is it maybe similar to Magic, like anything, because you know you're the first one who mentioned it.
Okay, yeah, sure. So yeah, a lot of people know Yu-Gi-Oh from maybe the show on TV or whatever, but didn't play. They just know the cards. But yeah, it's a very similar game to Magic, I would say. There's no like mana system, so you just play your cards, and there's still like creatures, but I think they were called monsters instead of creatures, and their spells. It's really similar to Magic, but yeah, it's just like a one-on-one card game where you try to kill your opponent. Same thing, but yeah, I never played like big tournaments. We just played at the local shop, the tournaments they had, but we were always competitive. So like we were getting the best decks, and we built up a big collection. But then they banned a bunch of the best cards, and the game was kind of changing. And randomly one day we just like found Magic. There was like a PTQ going on, and I didn't know anything about Magic. I was like 10 years old, but there was like a Mirrodin PTQ or something, and I'm like looking at the cards, and we finally got some cards. And yeah, my brother's 3 years older than me, so he was always like the one who collected, and he would build up a collection in Yu-Gi-Oh. Then he did the same thing in Magic. He started, keeping binders and trading cards, and we started to build decks. And I don't know, it just kind of evolved from there. I found Magic Online quickly after that, so I played Magic Online in high school, 8th, 9th, 10th grade, and I just met I met some good players online, and then we started traveling to PTQs and stuff. But I never really like took it serious. It was like I'm going to try to be a pro Magic player or whatever. I just kind of would play all the time for fun, and it just kind of happened where eventually I won a PTQ. And
I'm sorry, you mentioned the fact that you like found online immediately, but you also said that you like, you know, found Magic when you were 10. Are you basically saying that like maybe at age 12 or something you were just like mostly playing online? That's like kind of unusual, I think.
Yeah, I think it is unusual, but it is true. Like when I was, I mentioned poker, but when I was like probably in 5th or 6th grade, I was already playing poker. Like I guess it was 2003 when Chris Moneymaker won the main event. So I was 11 at that point. I was already getting into it. Some of my friends played, and my older brother, and we would play like full tilt poker, free rolls, and stuff. And I had a computer. Like once I was in 6th or 7th grade, I had my own computer. So I was already playing online poker, and then we found Magic online. We had a kid at our high school, Kyle Babin, who doesn't really play Magic anymore, but he was a good player actually, and he showed us Magic online. And I just remember like playing seal decks like Ravnica and drafting all the time and trying to like build up our collection. And then the first extended deck we got was Tebs. I remember that. And I was like 11, 12, 13 years old. And then somewhere in there when I was like 13 or 14, Tom Ross, I had met him playing like local PTQs and stuff, and he was like, you know, telling the people in the OSIP clan that I had a high rating and was a good player, so they added me, and that's where I met like a bunch of like Brad Nelson and Owen and a bunch of good players, John Rolfe and Trunks and Yurchik and all them in the OSIP clan, and so that was a fun time for a few years where we were just grinding. And
so were you like I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're like hanging out with these players and like preparing with them even like back then? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so on Magic Online back in the day, you had like a clan chat where
I see.
24/7. There was like a Discord inside of the client basically. So when you log on, you could just like see what people were talking about, and we were just basically like, I was just trying to like build up my Magic Online collection and just get better and trying to win PTQs, live PTQs, online PTQs, whatever. But mostly it was just like talking about decks. And I remember like me and Corey Baumeister, Brad's little brother, built like a blue-white block deck in Zendikar. We played it a ton, and I won some tournament. Brad beat me actually in like the mocks and the finals or something in that format. But somewhere in there I won a PTQ in like 2009 and played my first Pro Tour. And we found Grand Prix at some point. But yeah, like I said, it was always on and off for me. Like I played 1 or 2 Grand Prix a year for 10 years. I was never like traveling, trying to do anything. And it was because I was playing poker. Like I always took poker more seriously. Like I was just, even at 16, 17, 18, 19, I was playing poker online, playing poker live, traveling, playing poker tournaments, and just mostly still just screwing around. But I would like go to Vegas for the summer for the World Series 3 or 4 years in a row and stuff like that. And so Magic was just kind of always like my competitive outlet in for fun. But
this is always kind of interesting for me. If someone is like playing so much poker or like so much Magic, it doesn't really matter which one, that when they have actually free time, they decide to spend that free time on like a different card game. Don't you think it's like kind of weird that like maybe you would like to do like some sport or something? Because I think that if you're like really focusing on like a certain card game, if you decide to spend time playing, why you just like not playing that game and you're like dividing your skills into a different one? Like, did you ever think about that?
Yeah, it is weird. It is weird. And I think I would go on like streaks where like with Magic, it was always like I would play for like 2 or 3 months, a ton every day if I liked the format. Like when Fairies was a deck, I just like played a ton of Fairies. I won a PTQ online, and then I won another PTQ live with Fairies. But then like I would just spend like 6 months to a year where I never even knew what the sets were. Like I didn't draft at all. I guess I was just focused on poker, and I would just kind of like go back and forth. And I guess I would always draft or would be in the background. But yeah, it's a good question. I still had other stuff besides Magic and poker, but it is kind of weird. I would just like go from one to the other, I guess. I never really. I should have probably tried to just focus on one, because in poker I slacked off and just didn't really care. And I'm just so young, you know. I got into everything so young was part of it. I'm like 14, 15, 16, 17, and I was just having fun, and I just love the competitiveness of both games, and I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I was just curious.
Yeah, it's a good question.
So you said that you played like maybe 2 GPs a year, like, you know, every now and then you won a PTQ, but I think it was 2019 you won GP Dallas. I don't know if that was like the breaking point, but after that you like kind of won everything. I think you made like a Pro Tour top 8, like RPT top 8, then you like top 16 the finals, then you like won the grand finals. Was there like a point where you just like decided I'm gonna like really focus on this, or maybe you just like accumulated like knowledge because you're like older now and you just like started winning even though you're maybe not playing as much? Like can you maybe like talk about that time?
Yeah, I think it was just like a big whirlwind combination of everything, just getting lucky and just good timing. But I actually, the first Pro Tour that I did well at was like maybe 5 years before that, Fate Reforged. And it was just another random, like I won a PTQ or something, and went to go play it. Didn't test with anyone, really.
What format was it?
It was it modern or extended? I guess it was modern. Yeah, it's modern and draft. So it was like, what set is that called? It's Fate Reforged, but it was not Kaladesh. Khans of Tarkir is like the base set, Khans of Tarkir. Mm-hmm. So
was it maybe the one that was won by Splinter Twin? I don't really remember.
Yes. It's like Amulet versus Splinter Twin.
Okay, yeah.
That. So that Pro Tour, I drafted a lot, just like preparing. Maybe did 100 drafts, and I really liked the draft format. And I 3-0'd the first draft, and in Constructed, I was either going to just play the Abzan deck that was like the rock that everyone was playing. It was like the most played deck. Or I was going to play Infect. And when I got to the Pro Tour, Tom had tested with Pantheon like for the first time, Reed and all those guys, and they are all playing Infect. And Tom's like, yeah, you should play it. It's good. Here's like, you know, you should change these 3 or 4 cards. Like you should definitely play 4 Become Immense. Like he just told me everything because we were staying in the same room. So I just played basically the Pantheon Infect deck with like a couple small changes.
Did they know that he gave you the deck list?
Yeah, I think he told them because he was like, I'm staying with him, and we worked on the deck before I came to y'all, basically, is what he said, which was kind of true. I mean, I had talked to him about Infect before he left for Pantheon. But anyway, yeah, he did tell them. And they were cool about it. I ended up going to dinner with them like after day 1 and talking about the deck and stuff. So I don't think they really cared. But yeah, I went 5-0, so I was 8-0, and then I threw it all away on camera. There's a hunt where I have lethal, and I just like, it's a long story, but basically I looked at my life pad and I thought they were at 0 infect, but I had already attacked for 2 on turn 2. And so I could only deal them 8, and like I thought I couldn't kill him. So I just tried to set it up to kill him the next turn. But then he had like Simian Spirit Guide to Hive Mind Pack to kill me, and and I died and didn't make top 8. So yeah, I made top 16 there. But anyway, the point of that story is that after that Pro Tour, Brad Nelson and them were on a big team like Steve Rubin, Seth Manfield, and they joined with the Star City people like Brad BBD, Jerry Thompson, and then Ari Lax and all them. And they had this big conglomerate with like Andrea Miguchi. I mean, we had like a massive team, but they wanted me to join because Brad was like wanting to learn Limited. And he was like, you crushed this draft format and you should join our team. So I joined their team. And that year I played like 4 or 5 Pro Tours in a row. And that helped me a lot, testing with Seth and Brad and them. And I missed gold by 1 point because I didn't play Grand Prix, and I also it was the middle of the season. You know how it is. I did well at that Pro Tour, and it was like the wrong one basically. So I ended up being like silver and bronze for like years just because of that, even though I wasn't playing. So I got to play a bunch of RPTQs, and I was just like hanging around. But I started to have the family and have kids and have my real job, and I wasn't really trying very hard. But then that was just a local Grand Prix at Dallas. We hadn't moved to Houston, so it was like a couple-hour drive, and I just played blue-white control, even though Hogak was the best deck. And there's no pro points anymore at that point, so there wasn't very many pros. There was only like 2 players with 3 buys in the whole tournament, and it was just like I'm just playing like a blue-white control list I copied from the internet. But I ended up winning that Grand Prix, and that qualified me for the Oko Pro Tour, which was, I guess, Mythic Championship 6. It was the last paper Mythic Championship. And I prepared by myself for that again. I drafted a ton of Eldraine, and I ended up 6-0 in draft.
What's the key to Eldraine? I actually won a GP in Eldraine, but I think I got pretty lucky. Oh, nice. So if you can, tell me secrets. So.
The key to Eldraine is just forcing blue. Like, it just, like, people knew that blue was good for the most part, and they knew, like, Merfolk Secret Keeper thing because of Arena was like this mill deck, no, the bots don't take it or whatever for a period of time. But in reality, it was just that blue had like 14 good commons, and there's like, you could draft a 5-color deck and be base blue. You could draft like 4 different blue decks that are all like, you know, blue splashing a little bit of red for Improbable Alliance or whatever. You could just be like a pure control / mill deck. You could also be like aggressive with flyers, and it was just like, the rares were way better too. So you just like always wanted to be blue. And at the Pro Tour, like Max Mick was mono blue on my right on day 2. And I just drafted mono blue anyway on his left and just still 3-0'd. Like, you just should always be blue basically.
Okay.
And yeah, that was my trick to it. And you know, it's not common that a format is like that, where I'm confident to be like, you can just force it. But that's what I did for like the weeks before and at the Pro Tour, and it just worked. Like the draw 3, scry 3 card, whatever that was called, the 5-mana card, it was just underrated and just so good. And you just like got them 4th or 5th pick because people just didn't agree with me, I guess. But yeah, that was the secret to it, Jane.
All right. So what happened after that?
Yeah. So after that Pro Tour,
you top 16. You top 16 that Pro Tour, right?
I actually was the number 1 seed going into the top 8. Oh yeah, so that top 8, I just played the Sultai Oko deck, and I just ran good, and I was like 13-1, got to draw the last couple of rounds, and then I lost in the top 8 to Sebastian Pozzo in a mirror. He was playing just the blue-green Oko, but after that, I joined Alan Wu and Mark Jacobson and them's team 7%, just like the giant Pro Tour Discord team with like 25 people, and the first tournament together we had was the RPTs, basically. So that was going to be RPT Phoenix for most of our team. Some of them actually played the Europe one as well. But but yeah, that testing went pretty well, and I ended up playing blue-white control, even though most of my team switched to the Lotus Breach deck or whatever, and I did well there as well. I
want to ask about that as well, because you know, I obviously played that tournament as well, and I like blue-white was the first deck that I tried. I liked it a lot at first, but then I just wasn't winning with it. Did you just like play it really well, or like how did you win with the deck? It was just so bad, I think.
Yeah, I think the deck was extremely good at the beginning of the format, and it started to evolve into spots where it like wasn't the best, but you could adapt and change some cards. And Dream Trawler was like massive for me in the tournament, and just in general in the sideboard. I played like more than most people. I think I played 3, and most people played like 1 or 2. But it was just like against mono black, mono red, spirits, all these decks. My plan was just like Dream Trawler. And LSV was actually playing a lot of the blue white deck as well. And I watched the streams, and you know, he added like some Soul Guide Lanterns, and just like 1 or 2 cards changing up really helped like some of the matchups, like the Sultai Uro deck that people picked up. And I ended up beating a lot of good players in that tournament too. I beat the Sultai Uro deck. I beat Sebastian. He was actually playing that deck. And yeah, I probably just ran good. I had some really close matches against Mono Red, and I beat Spirits a couple of times. I don't know. I probably just ran good. But yeah, I've also just played like blue-white control in every format for years, and I'm just comfortable with it. And I didn't want to play the Lotus Breach deck. After a couple leagues with it, I was just like, felt like I was screwing up and losing games I should win, so I just stuck with the blue-white control, and it worked out.
So now we're at the point that there is the RPT round, right? Like the not RPT, yeah. like the Pro Tour Finals or whatever it was called.
Yeah,
I don't really
Pro Tour
remember.
Finals. Yeah, it was coronavirus happening at this point. Like there was supposed to be a Pro Tour Finals in Houston, which is where I was living, and like the whole team was going to come. It was going to be awesome, but then they pushed it back. Then they like rescheduled it for a new place. Then they were like, okay, we're actually going to cancel everything, and it got all screwed up. And I was doing well in the rivals race, obviously, because it was just that from that last tournament. So I was frustrated that they like canceled it, and they just like decided rivals, and there was big falling out about that. And it was like, whatever, they decide to move it online. So the Pro Tour Final was going to be just like an online tournament with a smaller prize pool, but ended up just being an arena standard only, I think. Yeah, and it was Team of Reclamation times where like 4-color Reclamation ended up being like, you know, the thing people went to try to win the mirror. But I tested with Alan and Tommy and those guys again, and we just decided that Teamer was better than 4-color. And we added some Maze Mind Tomes and a few little things for the mirror, and I ended up making top 16, and Alan made top 8, and so that was another good tournament. And yeah, that qualified me for the grand finals that I won.
That was the Omnat tournament, right? Like, I saw some of the matches. Like, obviously there is like no single key. It was like very intricate. many decisions. But like, did you find anything that the other players didn't find? If you can maybe talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of the matches in the top 8 and stuff, I've rewatched them, and I made a lot of small mistakes in some of the games, but they're just so complicated and it's so hard on Arena with the clock and the rope. Like in these matches against Nassif and against Levy, I was just under time pressure and just like, I know I'm not going to play perfectly, but you just have to try to execute as well as you can. But from their side, I think their deck list was a bit off. Like the sideboard package with Fan of Wishes is super important, and you know, I had the fling and the
yeah. I was about to say, like, there was a game against Nassif where it like looked like he can't lose, but then you just flinged him out. Did you like was that your plan, or did you, like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, that was my plan in that game, and that was my plan in most of the close games in the top 8 that I won, because it's like that matchup was just so good. I really enjoyed it. It was like some really great Magic, the Omnath Adventures Mirror, and it's because like at every level of the game, like so many different things matter. Like early on, it can be about like an Innkeeper getting onto the board, but also can be about the Lucky Clover. But it's like also about just ramping and like generating more lands. Like whoever gets ahead on lands has such a big advantage, but not if your like life total is. If you have to worry about your life total, then it's like things kind of change. So it's just a great matchup. But having the fling meant that it's like, you can get into spots where it just doesn't matter what they do on their turn, because Beanstalk Giant, you're both going to have 15 lands, and it's like the deck just doesn't play enough counter spells. Like they have one negate or whatever, one other counter in their sideboard, but I have a negate too, and I have another counter too. So it's like, even if they're starting to get ahead on cards and on the board, if you chip them down below 20, it's like they can just get flinged out. So
were the other people not playing Fling? I actually didn't check all the deck lists, so
yeah. So my team. I know Alan and I both played it. I don't know if Gertler played it, but I think he did. I know he liked Embercleave better, but I tried to talk him out of it. I don't remember what he settled on. But Nassif and Levy and all them, they played Embercleave instead, which it's better in general, but you have to untap with the Beanstalk Giant. So it's like you have to play the Beanstalk Giant, and you have to untap and attack with it, and you can kill somebody from a much higher life total. So if they thought because of Omnath you're gaining life, and it's like you might have to kill somebody from 30 life or whatever, so Embercleave is better. But I found the opposite. Like because of Omnath, I'm like chipping people. I'm dealing them 4 from ramping, and like people were often just at like 12 or 10, even though I haven't attacked. And you have Bone Crushers too, and Lucky Clover. Yeah. So it just seemed like the fling was working better, and that's how the top 8 played out. Like I won like every game Beanstalk flinging. Some of them where I couldn't really win any other way, like that Nassif game.
That's very impressive. So after that, as you said, like the rival slot were kinda locked, but something happened, right? Like I think was it Eric Froelich?
Yeah, that's right. Eric Froelich's wife accepted a job with Wizards full time. I guess she was a contractor already working for them, but since she was going full time, they have that rule where you're not allowed to, you're not allowed to be a pro or work for them. Like if your significant other that you live with works for Magic, so he had to drop out basically, and they just sent me an email and invited me, and just lucky timing that I just won the grand finals, because I'm sure if like I got second and Aaron won, they would have just invited Gertler. So it's just so happened that I won that tournament and got in. But
as we said at the beginning, you obviously have a full-time job and kids, but now you're in Rivals. You're like won a bunch of tournaments. Are you like playing more because of that, or like what is going on with you and Magic right now? Because obviously now you have a lot more to win.
Yeah, it's crazy because before I got into Rivals, it was like everyone was kind of down on Magic, and a lot of people on the outside who aren't in the leagues were like, am I supposed to like try my hardest or like try to qualify for this stuff? It only qualifies you for one thing at a time. You can't even like string stuff together. There's no Grand Prix. It's like everything was kind of in a limbo. But I had just done well at the Oko Pro Tour, so I was like, I'm going to go for Rivals and I'm going to like try my hardest. And we prepared, and I did well at the RPT, so I was like ready to go. But then they like ripped it all away and were like, okay, we're canceling it. Sorry, you're not in Rivals, and you can't get in until next year. So I was like demoralized a bit, and I didn't practice as hard for the Pro Tour finals. But I was like, I'm still going to try. And I ended up top 16ing. And then for the grand finals, since it was just like a cool tournament, I really wanted to try my best and prepare in a small field and still a good prize pool. So I tried my best there and happened to win it. But it was like, when they invited me to Rivals, it was like this weird like relief. Like I made it. My goal was to like make the leagues basically. But now I'm in, and I just got immediately thrown in. Like I had to play 24 matches in one weekend to catch up with my the 12 that I'd missed. So I had like all these hugely important league matches right away, and I didn't really get to test as much as I would like. And then since then, I've just been so busy at work and with the kids, and I've kind of just not been playing Magic much at all, except like the week or two before we have league matches and have a tournament coming up. So I'm playing less, I would say, than I was like a year ago. But yeah, focusing hard that week before still, trying to make sure I have a good deck, and I'm up to shape. But yeah.
Okay, well, I think I've asked everything I wanted to ask about. Good luck in your league and with the kids and everything.
Yeah, thank you.
If you guys like the video, please click on the like and subscribe button, and bye bye.